What happens when royalty walks onto a daytime talk show thinking the rules don't apply to them? In just 35 seconds, one comment will turn a casual interview into an all-out confrontation that nobody saw coming. This is the moment Prince Harry got kicked off Loose Women. The studio lights are bright, the audience is buzzing with excitement, and Denise Welch sits behind the desk with her usual warm smile. She's been doing this for years. She knows how to handle any guest, from nervous first-timers to seasoned celebrities. Today, though, she has no idea what's about to unfold. Prince Harry walks onto the set. The audience erupts in applause. He's wearing a casual suit, no tie, looking relaxed. He waves to the crowd, flashes that famous smile, and takes his seat across from Denise. Everything seems perfectly normal. Just another day, another interview. Denise starts things off gently. She always does. Prince Harry, welcome to Loose Women. It's such a pleasure to have you here, with us today. Harry leans back in his chair, crossing his legs. He looks around the set like he's assessing it, judging it. Thanks for having me, he says, and there's already something in his tone, something off. Although I have to say, I'm not sure why you call it Loose Women. Seems a bit outdated, doesn't it? I mean, in this day and age, shouldn't we be more thoughtful about the language we use? There's a slight pause. The audience goes quiet for a second. You can feel the energy in the room shift. Denise keeps her smile, but you can see something flicker in her eyes. She's been in this business long enough to know when someone's testing boundaries, when someone walks in looking for a fight rather than a conversation. She could respond to the provocation. She could point out the irony of a royal lecturing anyone about outdated traditions. But she doesn't. Because that's not what professionals do. They rise above. Well, it's been the name of the show for quite some time now, and our viewers love it. But let's talk about you. You've been doing a lot of charity work lately. Tell us about that. She's trying to redirect. Get things back on track. This is what good hosts do. They pivot. They find the positive angle. They keep the conversation flowing smoothly. Harry shrugs, and it's not a modest shrug. It's dismissive. Yeah, I do charity work. Lots of people do charity work. But honestly, Denise, I think we should be talking about more important things than what I do with my free time. These questions, they're so surface level. Don't you get tired of asking the same boring questions over and over? Don't your viewers want something with more substance? Something real? The audience shifts uncomfortably. This isn't how interviews usually go. Guests are supposed to be gracious, appreciative of the platform they're given. They're supposed to play along. Denise's smile tightens just a fraction. Well, our viewers are actually very interested in the work you do. They admire you for using your position to help others. That's why we wanted to discuss it. Your viewers, Harry says, making air quotes with his fingers. Look, no offense, Denise, but do they really care about any of this? Or are they just here because I'm a prince? Let's be honest about what this is. This whole thing, it's not about meaningful conversation. It's about having someone with a title sit in this chair so you can get ratings. That's the truth, isn't it? A woman in the front row of the audience actually gasps. Someone else shakes their head. This is crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. This is taking hospitality and throwing it back in someone's face. Now the tension is palpable. You can feel it spreading through the studio like wildfire. The camera operators glance at each other, eyebrows raised. The producers in the control room lean forward in their seats, hands hovering over buttons they're not sure they should press. This is going somewhere unexpected. This is veering off script in a way that nobody planned for. The floor manager is making hand signals, trying to communicate something to someone, but nobody's quite sure what to do. Do they intervene? Do they let it play out? Denise doesn't break. She's a professional. She's handled difficult guests before. She's navigated awkward moments, diffused tense situations, kept shows moving forward when everything threatened to fall apart. This is just another challenge, just another test of her ability to stay composed under pressure. She keeps her composure, her voice steady and kind. There's not a hint of anger in it. Not yet. I think our viewers care about substance, which is exactly why we invited you here. We thought you'd have interesting insights to share. Shall we continue? Harry laughs, but there's no humor in it. It's dismissive, condescending, like he's dealing with a child who doesn't understand the real world. Insights? From me? You want insights about what exactly? How hard it is to be born into privilege. How tough it is to have everything handed to you on a silver platter. Is that the kind of deep, meaningful content your viewers are looking for? Because I can tell you right now, Denise, nobody actually cares about that. They just want to see someone famous. That's it. That's all this is. The audience is completely silent now. Not a cough, not a whisper, not a single sound. This isn't the Prince Harry they know from the news. This isn't the charming, self-deprecating royal who usually wins people over with his warmth and relatability. This is someone else entirely. Someone bitter. Someone angry. Someone who seems to resent every single person in that room for reasons they can't quite understand. Denise takes a measured breath. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but we simply wanted to have a conversation with you. If you're not comfortable, we can certainly move in a different direction. A different direction? Harry repeats mockingly. How about this direction? Why don't you ask me a real question? Why don't you ask me something that actually matters instead of this fluff you call journalism? The word journalism hangs in the air like a slap. Denise has been in broadcasting for decades. She's earned respect, admiration, and trust from millions of viewers. And here's this guest, sitting in her chair, on her show, dismissing everything she does. But she doesn't snap. She doesn't raise her voice. She maintains her dignity. I'm sorry you feel that way about our questions. We prepare extensively for every interview, and we've covered serious topics on this show for many years. Our audience trusts us to have meaningful conversations. Harry waves his hand dismissively. Meaningful conversations, right? Is that what you call this? Sitting around gossiping about celebrities? That's meaningful to you? A few audience members gasp. This has gone too far. You don't come onto someone's show and insult the host. You don't disrespect the platform that invited you. There are unwritten rules, basic standards of decency, and Harry is trampling all over them. Denise's expression hardens slightly, but her voice remains controlled. We discuss a wide range of topics on Loose Women, from current events to personal stories that resonate with people. If you've come here just to criticize what we do, perhaps this wasn't the right fit. Oh, so now you're getting defensive, Harry says with a smirk. I'm just being honest. Isn't that what you want? Honesty? Or do you only want guests who'll smile and nod and tell you how wonderful everything is? The crew is frozen. Nobody knows what to do. Do they cut to commercial? Do they keep rolling? This is live television. There's no editing this out. Whatever happens next, millions of people are watching. Denise straightens in her chair. Her patience, already stretched thin, is reaching its limit. We absolutely value honesty, but there's a difference between honesty and disrespect. You're a guest on this show, and we've welcomed you with open arms. The least you could do is show some courtesy. Harry's eyes narrow. Courtesy? You want me to show you courtesy? How about you show me some courtesy by asking me questions that aren't beneath me? I didn't come here to talk about trivial nonsense. That's it. That's the line. Beneath me. Those two words crystallize everything that's been building since he walked onto the set. The entitlement, the arrogance, the complete lack of respect for everyone in that room. Denise doesn't shout. She doesn't need to. Her voice is firm, clear, and absolutely final. I think we're done here. This interview is over. Harry blinks, seemingly surprised, as if he didn't expect there to be consequences for his behavior. Excuse me? You heard me. This interview is over. I'm not going to sit here and be insulted by someone who clearly has no respect for what we do, or the people who watch this show. You can leave now. The studio is dead. Silent. Every eye is on Harry. He looks around, as if expecting someone to come to his defense. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. You're kicking me off? He says it like he can't believe it. Like the very idea is absurd. Yes, you came here with an agenda to belittle us, and I'm not interested in continuing this conversation. We invited you here in good faith, and you've spent the entire time being condescending and rude. So yes, I'm asking you to leave. Harry's face flushes. For a moment, it looks like he might argue, might push back. But Denise's expression leaves no room for negotiation. She's made her decision, and she's not backing down. This is ridiculous, Harry mutters, standing up from his chair. Absolutely ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Denise says calmly, is coming onto a television show and treating everyone with contempt. You had an opportunity to have a genuine conversation, and you chose to waste it. Harry shakes his head, a bitter smile on his face. You know what? Fine. I don't need this. I don't need to be here. Then go, Denise says simply. And he does. He unhooks his microphone, tosses it onto the chair, and walks off the set. The cameras follow him as he disappears through the studio door. The audience sits in stunned silence. Denise turns back to the camera. She takes a breath, composing herself. When she speaks, her voice is steady, professional. Well, that certainly wasn't how we expected this segment to go. But let me be clear. On this show, we treat our guests with respect, and we expect the same in return. We're proud of what we do here, and we're proud of our viewers who tune in every day. We'll be right back after this break. The music kicks in. The lights dim. And just like that, it's over. But let's rewind and look at what really happened here. Because this wasn't just a bad interview. This was a masterclass in boundaries, respect, and knowing your worth. From the very first exchange, Harry was testing limits. His comment about the show's name wasn't a genuine question. It was a jab, a way to establish dominance, to put Denise on the defensive right out of the gate. But Denise didn't take the bait. She redirected with grace. She gave him an easy out, a chance to reset and start fresh. That's what experienced professionals do. They don't escalate. They de-escalate. Harry didn't want that, though. When she asked about his charity work, something universally positive, something he could have talked about passionately, he dismissed it, called it boring, implied that the questions were beneath him. Think about that for a second. He was given a platform to talk about causes he cares about, to inspire people, to make a difference, and he threw it away because he thought the questions weren't good enough for him. Denise tried again. She explained that viewers were interested. She validated his work while gently reminding him why they were having this conversation in the first place. She was being reasonable, measured, and kind. Harry's response? To mock the viewers, to suggest they only cared because of his title, to reduce the entire interview to a shallow transaction based on celebrity rather than substance. But here's the thing. If he believed the interview was shallow, why did he agree to do it? Nobody forced him onto that set. He chose to be there. And then he spent the whole time complaining about the very thing he signed up for. That's entitlement in its purest form. Accepting an invitation and then acting like you're too good for it. Denise remained patient. Even when he got sarcastic, even when he mocked her show and her profession, she kept trying to steer things back to productive ground. She offered him multiple chances to course correct. He rejected every single one, When he accused her of asking the same boring questions, she could have gotten defensive. She could have listed all the hard-hitting interviews she's done, all the important conversations she's facilitated. Instead, she simply said they prepare extensively and their audience trusts them. Confidence doesn't need to brag. It doesn't need to defend itself loudly. It simply states facts and moves forward. But Harry kept pushing. He called the show gossip. He dismissed everything they do as meaningless. And that's when Denise drew the first real line. If you've come here just to criticize what we do, perhaps this wasn't the right fit. Notice the language. She didn't attack him. She didn't insult him back. She simply named what was happening and suggested an alternative. She gave him one more chance to recognize his behavior and adjust. Harry's response was to accuse her of being defensive. Classic deflection. When someone calls you out on bad behavior, turn it around and make them the problem. Then he went further. He mocked the idea of guests being polite, as if basic courtesy was some kind of weakness, as if showing respect to your host was beneath him. That's when Denise got direct. She pointed out the difference between honesty and disrespect. She reminded him that he was a guest. She asked for basic courtesy, reasonable requests, simple boundaries, the kind of things most people understand instinctively. And Harry, he said the questions were beneath him. Beneath him. Not inappropriate, not off topic, not poorly researched. Beneath him. In that moment, he revealed exactly who he was. Someone who genuinely believed he was better than everyone else in that room. Better than the host who had welcomed him. Better than the crew working to make him look good. Better than the viewers who had tuned in to see him. And that's when Denise said no. Not loudly, not dramatically, just firmly and clearly. This interview is over. Harry's shock was telling. He genuinely didn't expect consequences. He thought he could say whatever he wanted, treat people however he wanted, and everyone would just take it because of who he was. But Denise wasn't impressed by his title. She wasn't starstruck. She wasn't going to tolerate disrespect just because he was famous. When he questioned whether she was really kicking him off, she didn't waver. She explained exactly why. She named his behavior, called it what it was, and stood by her decision. No second guessing, no backing down, no apologizing for having standards. Even as he left, muttering about how ridiculous it all was, Denise got the last word. Not in a petty way, but in a way that drove home the point. He had an opportunity, and he wasted it. And then, after he was gone, she turned to the camera and addressed the audience directly. She didn't badmouth him. She didn't go on a rant. She simply restated the show's values. Respect, mutual courtesy, pride in their work. That's leadership. That's integrity. That's what it looks like when someone refuses to compromise their dignity for the sake of entertainment or ratings or pleasing a difficult guest. Throughout the entire exchange, Denise never lost her composure. She never matched his rudeness with rudeness of her own. She remained professional even when he was being completely unprofessional. She gave him multiple opportunities to change course. She tried redirection, clarification, gentle pushback, and direct confrontation. She exhausted every reasonable option before ending the interview. But once she made the decision, she didn't hesitate. She didn't waffle. She acted decisively and stood behind her choice. Compare that to Harry's behavior. He came in with attitude from the start. He dismissed every attempt at genuine conversation. He mocked and belittled. And when faced with consequences, he acted like the victim. That walk-off wasn't graceful or dignified. Tossing the microphone, shaking his head, muttering complaints. It was the behavior of someone who had never been held accountable before. Someone who thought their status would protect them from ever hearing the word no. But here's what makes this moment so powerful. Denise didn't need his approval. She didn't need him to understand why she kicked him off. She didn't need him to agree with her decision. She just needed him gone. And that's a lesson in itself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remove yourself from a toxic situation. Or in this case, remove the toxic person from your space. There's no magic combination of words that will make someone like Harry suddenly become respectful. No perfect argument that will make him see what he's doing wrong. Some people aren't interested in learning or growing or treating others with basic decency. When you encounter someone like that, the healthiest response isn't to keep engaging. It's to end the engagement. Denise understood that. She tried the diplomatic approach. When that didn't work, she tried being direct. And when that still didn't work, she ended it. Clean, simple, final. The audience's reaction throughout all of this was fascinating too. At first, there were nervous laughs, uncomfortable, shifting. People weren't sure if this was some kind of bit, some planned controversy for ratings. But as it became clear that Harry was genuinely being disrespectful, the mood changed. The laughter stopped. The shuffling stopped. Everyone just watched in stunned silence. Because they could see what was happening. They could see someone with power and privilege using it to punch down, to make someone else feel small. And they could see Denise refusing to be made small. That's why this moment resonated. It wasn't just drama for drama's sake. It was a real conflict with real stakes, where someone stood up for themselves and their values. Think about how many times you've watched interviews where the host lets guests walk all over them, where bad behavior gets a pass because the guest is famous or important, where rudeness is tolerated because confronting it might make things awkward. Denise didn't do that. She chose awkward. She chose confrontation. Because sometimes that's what integrity requires. When she said, "We invited you here in good faith, and you've spent the entire time being condescending and rude," she was doing more than just calling out bad behavior. She was modeling what it looks like to have boundaries and enforce them. Good faith. That's the key phrase. She approached the interview with good faith. She assumed positive intent. She gave him every benefit of the doubt. And when it became undeniable that he wasn't operating in good faith, when his intent was clearly to demean and dismiss, she stopped pretending otherwise. That's not being reactive or emotional. That's being honest about reality. Harry seemed to think that calling out the show as gossip or fluff would be some kind of gotcha moment. Like Denise would crumble under the accusation and admit that, yes, actually, they don't do real journalism, but she didn't, because she knows the value of what she does. She knows that connecting with an audience, discussing topics that matter to regular people, creating a space for conversation, that's all legitimate work. Just because it's not a political debate or an investigative expose doesn't make it meaningless. Just because it's accessible and entertaining doesn't make it shallow. Harry's contempt for the format revealed his own narrow view of what matters. If it doesn't directly serve his image or his agenda, it's not worth his time. If it's not framed exactly how he wants it, it's beneath him. That kind of thinking is exhausting for everyone around it, because you can never win with someone like that. No matter what you do, it won't be good enough. No matter how you approach them, they'll find fault. Denise recognized that dynamic and refused to play along. She didn't try to convince him that the show was worthwhile. She didn't defend herself endlessly. She just said, "This isn't working. You need to leave." And in doing so, she protected her own energy, her staff's energy, and her audience's time. Look at how she wrapped up after he left. She didn't dwell on it. She didn't turn it into a huge thing. She acknowledged what happened, restated the show's values, and moved on. We're proud of what we do here, and we're proud of our viewers who tune in every day. That's a direct counter to Harry's dismissiveness. He tried to make them feel small, and she responded by affirming their value. not in a defensive way, but in a confident, matter-of-fact way. This moment became memorable, not because of what Harry did, but because of how Denise responded. His behavior was predictable. Entitled, people act entitled. That's not surprising. What was surprising, what was refreshing, was watching someone refuse to tolerate it. We're so used to seeing people excuse bad behavior from powerful figures. Oh, they're just having a bad day. Oh, they're under a lot of stress. Oh, that's just how they are. Denise didn't make excuses for him. She held him to the same standard she'd hold any other guest. And when he failed, to meet that standard, there were consequences. Real consequences. Not just a stern look or a disappointed tone. Actual removal from the situation. That's what made this moment cut through all the noise. In a media landscape full of manufactured drama and staged conflicts, this was genuine. Two people with fundamentally different approaches to respect and professionalism, reaching a point where continuing the conversation served no purpose. Denise didn't need to win an argument with Harry. She didn't need to prove she was right. She just needed to maintain her standards and protect her space. And she did exactly that. The walk-off itself, Harry's final exit from the studio, became the visual representation of everything that had gone wrong. He couldn't leave with grace. He had to make it dramatic. Had to show his displeasure. Meanwhile, Denise sat calmly in her chair, watching him go, and then immediately pivoted to taking care of her audience. No gloating, no victory lap, just back to work. That contrast tells you everything you need to know about their characters. One person made it all about themselves. The other person made it about maintaining standards and serving her audience. 35 seconds. That's all it took for Harry to torpedo his own interview. 35 seconds from that first dismissive comment to the moment when everything started unraveling. But it wasn't really 35 seconds. It was every choice he made throughout the interview. Every snide remark. Every dismissive gesture. Every refusal to engage genuinely. Those choices accumulated. They built on each other. Until finally, there was nowhere left to go but out the door. Denise gave him so many chances to turn it around. So many opportunities to recognize what he was doing and choose differently. But he couldn't see it. Or wouldn't see it. Either way, the result was the same. And when someone shows you who they are, that clearly, that consistently, the only appropriate response is to believe them. Denise believed him. She saw his contempt, his arrogance, his complete lack of respect, and she responded accordingly, not with matching contempt, not with arrogance of her own, but with clear boundaries and decisive action. That's the real story here. Not that a guest was rude. That happens. Not that an interview went badly. That happens too. The story is that someone refused to accept disrespect. Refused to pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Refused to sacrifice their dignity for the sake of finishing an interview. Denise Welch kicked Prince Harry off Loose Women because he earned it. Because he came onto her show with an attitude problem and refused every opportunity to correct it. Because he made it clear that he had no interest in having a respectful conversation. And when faced with that reality, she made the only choice that made sense. She ended it. Firmly. Professionally. Finally. That's how you handle an entitled guest. That's how you protect your space and your values. That's how you show the world that respect isn't optional, even when dealing with royalty. What happens when royalty walks onto a daytime talk show thinking the rules don't apply to them? They find out very quickly that they're wrong. In just 35 seconds, one comment turns into a full confrontation. And by the end of it, they're walking off the set, microphone discarded, dignity left behind somewhere between the arrogant smirks and the moment someone finally said, no. This is the moment Prince Harry got kicked off Loose Women. And this is the moment Denise Welch showed everyone exactly what it looks like to stand your ground.